Hello, welcome to Revive and Rise. I'm your host, Melody Parrish, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I am so excited about the topic that we're going to discuss. For this month, the theme is political trauma, and I feel like we all need this right now. We need to express ourselves. We need to understand and focus on what's going on. We need to listen to each other. We just need to come together and to understand what's going on, even when we don't understand what's going on, because honestly, you can't. But I feel like we also need to start discussions and conversations. So throughout this month, we're going to have guests that are speaking about political trauma they've experienced, or many things like that. It can be trauma from at the hands of the government, or because of politics, policies, anything like that. So they're going to have some interesting information, some good stories to share with you, hopefully some insight. So the thing is that politics isn't just Republican, Democrat. We're on a certain team and our team has to win. And that seems to be the idea at the moment, at this moment in our society. But politics are so much more, because you're actually voting for policies that are going to affect individuals' lives. And I don't know if people can see that, or if people really care because it doesn't affect them, or maybe some of both. But there are people that are traumatically affected by these policies, that live in fear because different policies that are possibly enacted will affect their lives in such a devastating way. And we need to be cognizant of that. Now, I'm not going to try and lecture or talk about, different political parties, or try and change your mind, or make you see that one is better than the other, or anything like that, because I don't want to get caught up in that, and I think it's useless. There's no perfect political party. Let's face it, there's nothing perfect, and there's nothing that you will agree with 100%. It's just which one to you is better than the other. Which policies do you accept and desire? There's not one that's 100% perfect. And so I want to talk more about what I see is going on, and this is all my opinion. I am in no way a government scholar, a political scholar, but this is just what I see. And I think at this time in our society, there's a breakdown of humanity. There's a breakdown of compassion. And just at the basic level, forget the other things that are going on, but at the basic level, we've lost sight of being human being, what it means to be a human being. And it's interesting to see how that's happened. I honestly never, ever thought I would see this happen in my country in my lifetime. But it has. And so I want to talk about this us, them mentality that I've spoken about before, but also tie in the element of fear that's being used. the element of they're taking from you is another thing that's being used. And then the art of intimidation is being used profoundly here lately. And so I want to speak about those. I may get passionate at times because I am very passionate about these subjects and what's going on right now. I just feel like you have to be if you're a human being, you know, and if you're not devastated by what's going on and the pain that you're seeing, then there may be something that you need to address within yourself. First of all, I would like for us to just take a moment and pause and just try and use our imagination and our creativity to be able to put ourselves in types of positions to feel certain emotions. I'm not trying to downplay or dismiss anything that's happening. I'm just trying to get at basic emotions that are felt in the most basic way, not trying to minimize anything or anything disrespectful like that. So I want us to think about a time when we were wrongfully accused of something, be it when we're a child, when we're in our young adult life, when we're in our grown adult life, a time where we were wrongfully accused of something that we didn't do, but there was no way to prove that we didn't do it. And not just that, but we were accused because we were either in the wrong place at the wrong time, or we were accused for something that we couldn't help. We were accused because we are a different shade of color. We're accused because we come from a different area. We're accused because we're a female, and only females could possibly do those kind of things because they're so emotional and so out of control. And I want you to sit with that feeling for a minute, that feeling of humiliation, that feeling of shame, that feeling that you are profoundly different, you are wrong, this is all your fault. All of those feelings, I want you to just sit with those for a minute. But I also want you to think about a time when you were mocked or made fun of because you were different. Be it a child, be it a young adult, be it a grown adult, but for some reason you were mocked. Maybe it was because of the clothes you wore. Maybe it was because of the car you drove. Maybe it was because of the house you lived in. Maybe it was because of your ideas or something silly you said, but you didn't think it was silly. Maybe it was something you did, but you were mocked and made fun of and ridiculed just for being yourself, for no other reason, just for being yourself, but it didn't fit in at that moment with what society said it should be. And I want you to sit with that. I want you to imagine when you were scared. Imagine something, whether it was something as simple as, jumping because somebody just suddenly appeared and scared you, whether it's something because you were in the dark and you were scared because you couldn't see what was in front of you. Just hold on to that emotion, that fear. And I want you to sit with all these emotions, and there's so many others that are being felt by our immigrant population and our African American population and our transgender population. But I want you to sit with those few emotions. And I want you to ask yourself to magnify that, but then to feel that repeatedly every day and be beaten into you every day. And think of how that would make you feel to be told every day that you're a criminal just because of the way you look. You know, our African American friends go through this every day because of racial profiling. Whether people say they do it or don't, they do. It's done every day. And how terrible would that be to live in that existence? Even to the point where, you know, African Americans can walk into some stores and they're immediately watched because they're thought of as going to shoplift or something. And how ridiculous is that? Or you hear all the time, all these stories. This African American boy was wearing a hoodie and someone felt threatened just because he was walking down the street. Or somebody from another country just began speaking a different language, and automatically it registered in somebody's mind that they were bad in some form or fashion. And it's just those types of things. And don't even get me started on transgender. I feel like our transgender friends have been mutilated and destroyed for just trying to be who they are, for just trying to be comfortable. They've been ridiculed and criminalized, dehumanized. It's just horrendous what has happened to all of these individuals and so many more that have been oppressed and in our communities. And I feel like the political situation and the government have started using tried and true tactics for doing this. The whole us them mentality that I've spoken about before. But then tying that into you're struggling, you're suffering, you don't have enough. And the reason you don't have enough is because of them. And the example that I want to use for that, there's many, but the example that I want to use for that is when people are struggling financially, when they can't get a job, they can't get the job they want. And as human beings, we have to make sense of things. And if there is no reason and there's nothing to make sense, we will make sense of it. If there's nobody to blame, we will find somebody to blame. And so people that are struggling in those situations, it makes it really easy to say it's because of them. It's because we have the people that are migrating to this country are taking your jobs. And that's why you're not able to have enough. As if everything is a piece of pie and we're all allotted one specific slice. That's not how it works. We live in a country that has a country of plenty. This is a country that has so many freedoms, so much richness. There should never be a person to go hungry or without a place to live in this country ever. We have enough. It's just used the wrong way. It's just used in oppressive ways to make the rich richer and the poor poorer. And it's used for war machines to make us look like we're strong. And we use that for oppression too, to oppress others in the world. I've never understood how we can spend millions of dollars, millions and millions and millions of dollars, dropping bombs on other countries, sending our troops to other countries, and all that takes and all that does. Yet we can't feed our own citizens. We can give so many tax breaks for the rich. Yet we can't give our citizens and people of this country care. We can't give them proper government assistance. There can't be housing, affordable housing. But yet we can have all these exorbitant things for certain individuals. And I'm not angry about people that make money or how they spend their money. That's up to them. And if you have money, great. That's wonderful. But what I'm talking about is the discrepancy. The discrepancy between those that don't have money and those that do. You have people that are making minimum wage, that are working and working for $7.25 an hour in some places. And you have others that are making hundreds of millions of dollars. There's such a discrepancy, and that's what I'm talking about. So it's not that there's somebody to blame. I mean, we can't blame a certain group of people. We have to blame the policies that are being made and enforced. Blame those people, not the shiny ball over here. And that's what's happening. We're being pitted against each other. And another thing that makes this possible is the dehumanizing language that's occurring. The dehumanizing language that has become so normalized that people don't even recognize it anymore. There's such hate speech and such hate going on in this country right at this moment. There's always been hate in this country. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's growing. And it's when you feed the monster that's present, it grows. That monster was always there, but now that we're feeding it, it's growing. And what's what's interesting is the way this works. You can go back through history, hundreds and thousands of years, and you can see where this was done because it's easier for most people to hate a general public that they don't know, a general group that they don't know, rather than their neighbor next door or the person that teaches their children in school, their doctor, their person at the grocery store that they know personally and they can see is a human being. And that's the thing that's happening. People have been grouped together and then demonized and villainized and dehumanized. And it makes it okay then to spread the hate and to spread the blame. And we're smarter than that, or I thought we were. I mean, it is beyond my comprehension that things have gone this far. But then if you look at history and cultish behavior, then you see where it can. Studies have shown that if things are repeated enough, people start to believe it. And if that's all that they hear, people start to believe it. And I think we're seeing that played out in real time at this moment in this society, in this country. We're going to villainize you. We're going to hate you, but we're going to do it enough to where others will. And what's interesting to me and what makes me so angry, and I'm just going to say this, and if it offends people, I hope it offends the right people, it is that you see African Americans, you see other people with different skin colors, and they are hated for one thing, but they're appreciated for others. We love to be entertained in sports, in music by African Americans and Hispanics and the Latino population. We love to be entertained. We love their music. We love their performance on the sports field, but yet they don't quite need to have the same rights as we do. They don't quite need to have the same rights or to live in the same places or to be able to do the same things as we do. It's just that mentality. And that drives me crazy when I see that. When I see things like this entire Bad Bunny situation and the ignorance that's there. Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory. It is part of this country. It is part of this country. Why are you saying that he doesn't need to perform at the Super Bowl because he's not a citizen? Why do you have such problem with it? Puerto Rico's good enough to go vacation, to have their food, to listen to their music, to experience some parts of their culture, but yet they're not good enough to have the same rights that people in mainland America have. That doesn't make sense. And it's just things like that. And I am beyond bewildered at the idea of this supposed wokeness and not wanting to use that word and then trying to use that word as an insult. I don't understand, because every other aspect, when you're in therapy and you talk about finally being awake, being awakened, it's okay. When you say that you're awake, you're alive, da 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 da, those kinds of things are okay. You want to be awake. You want to be awake to catch the show. You want to be awake to do this. People make a point to stay up and be awake. And it's a good thing and it's seen as positive. So why, when that term is used as seeing people as a civil rights and social justice term, why does that make it wrong? I just don't understand. And then I was watching CNN, and they were having a discussion between several different political experts, and one of them talked about the increase in speech about racism. And they even brought out some kind of bogus statistics about how many times, different words were searched on Google and how many times they appeared in different things. And then they were like, it's become an obsession. And they said that the racism has always been there, but now we're talking more about it. We've become more obsessed, and we've just done that to divide ourselves. And I was floored. It's not that we're talking about racism because we want to make things, more difficult or whatever. I mean, yes, we are, but we're talking about racism, because we're giving people a voice to talk about their experiences, to share their stories. We're actually letting them be human and share their emotions and share things that happen to them so that we can all learn. And not just so that we can learn, but so that we can make change. So that change can happen, so that people can have the same civil rights across the board, because we're all human beings. We're talking about it because now it seems like people are willing to talk about it, and people are able to talk about it, and people feel empowered to talk about it. And if that makes you uncomfortable, it should. It should make you uncomfortable, because it's a disgusting thing. It should make you uncomfortable because we need change, and uncomfortability is what leads to change. And every white person in this country needs to face what is happening, what has happened. And it seems like that is trying to be erased. History is about the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's about what happened good But what happened bad too? It's all part of history. There is no perfect country. There is no perfect part of history. And we need to own it. We need to discuss things. We need to understand. And we need to invoke change so that it never happens again. That's the whole goal. And that's why people talk about things. Because how do you learn? The human being learns most and communicates most by telling stories. And when people tell their story and share what happens to them and what they've experienced, then we learn and we grow. That's just what all of us is trying to do. I heard someone talk about this country and what it was founded on, and it made me laugh. Because, and I mean laugh not in a funny way, but in like a shocked way or a way of disbelief. They said, well, we need to get our country back. This country was built on forgiveness and was built on love. And I was just like, no, it's not really. You need to go back and check what this country was built on. This country was first built on freedom of religion, not forcing a religion. This country was not built on Christianity like so many people think. This country was built on freedom of religion. That anyone that stepped foot on our country, on U.S. soil, could practice their religion however they wanted. That was what this country was built on. This country was built on rebellion because the colonizers here were rebelling against Europe. This country was built on rebellion and being a rebel. This country was built on protesting for rights. This country was built on speaking out, not on forgiveness and love and all of these other things that are made to whitewash everything that this country was built on. This country was gained by stealing, conniving, manipulating, taking advantage of people. I saw something that just breaks my heart, because nobody really gives any spotlight, it feels like, to Native Americans. They just seem to be forgotten. The indigenous people of this country, I wonder how it feels by, in their eyes when they hear, oh, Christopher Columbus discovered this country. No, he didn't. There were already people here. What do you mean he discovered this country? There were already people living and breathing here. It's not like it was a brand new land that needed to be settled. It was already settled. I wonder what they think when they hear all of these stories about Thanksgiving and how it was so peaceful, and the colonizers and the Native Americans, they had a friendly dinner and were so thankful. No, I mean, I wasn't personally there, but I am pretty sure if there was ever a dinner between colonizers and Native Americans, then it wouldn't be friendly. And I'm sure it was filled with a lot of contempt and a lot of hurt and pain. But anyway, I just wonder about those things sometimes. And I saw this picture of these tribal leaders. I don't remember what tribe they were from, but it said, our land was taken and we had to fight to be able to be seen and recognized as people. And I don't remember when, but it gave the date that their tribe was actually recognized by the U.S. government as a group of people, a people group, and that their land was actually theirs. Not that it belonged to them, but it was the land that they lived on. And so I think about those things. I can't imagine living like that. I can't. I can't imagine as a white female how it feels to live with those things every day and how traumatic that would be. I don't think any white person can fully understand that. But I want to understand. I want to listen. I want my friends to feel like they're supported. You know, I've been asked several times about what I think about or what I understand about our transgender friends. And I always end up saying the same thing. I always say the same thing. How is that possible? And now you look at what's going on now. You look at the pain, you look at the suffering, and if you can see it and you can just dismiss things by saying, oh, that's not real. Oh, they're inflaming that. Oh, it's because they're illegal, or it's because they look like they're up to something, or you can come up with a million reasons why these things are okay, why it is okay to have people dropping down from a helicopter, ripping you out of bed, and then zip tying children just because of the color of your skin. And those were U.S. citizens as well. Which it doesn't matter. No one should be treated like that. When you see things like school shootings and the shooting at the Pulse nightclub and those hate-filled things, whether it's because we're not teaching our children how to handle their emotions, or we're not teaching our children how to love people, or there is something that's not being taught, and there are war weapons that are built and meant for killing, being able to be in the hands of civilians. And we can't talk about those things. We can't talk about racism. We can't talk about sexism. We can't talk about our transgender friends and anyone from the LGBT plus person community. We can't talk about those things, but we can talk instantly and memorialize someone that is filled with such hate that has been smoke screened into being a good person, a person of faith, while sowing seeds of hate and division. Then there's something wrong with our society. Somewhere we're not getting something. We need to have conversations about policies that are going to be enacted, if not already. We need to have policies about abortion bans and women's rights, and we need to have conversations about health care and what the government assistance of health care or lack thereof, because it's soon to be cut, is going to mean for us. We don't need to be talking about ballrooms and these kind of people and those kind of people and all this nonsense. We need to be talking about real situations that are affecting people, that are leaving people hungry, that are leaving people without a home, and that are leaving people battered, bruised, traumatized, threatened, and in fear all the time, constantly. I was talking to several of my African American friends that said, every time their son went somewhere, there was a little part of them that were fearful that he wouldn't return. That's heartbreaking. But it is a reality. It is a reality. And these kinds of things are starting to be normalized. It's starting to be just dismissed in this talk and that talk. Oh, they're just saying that. Oh, they're just saying that. No. No, no, no. If I think about my life, one thing I can say without hesitation is that the diversity in my life that I've been able to have and experience are some of the most happiest moments of my life. I've learned, I've experienced true joy. My fondest memories are with people that were different than me somehow, but yet we were so similar and so much the same. You can have both. You can be different and the same at the same time. Time can handle both. Things can handle both. I heard a quote, and now I've changed it a little bit, but it made me think. It made me think of language, and it made me think of what's going on now. And this whole idea of things have to be one or the other. Things can't be both. And I'm always right. My side is right. You have to pick a side because we cannot both coexist. Two things cannot be in the same situation, in the same instance. But it was the cruelty of the or and the joy of the and. When you say one or the other, you have to be one or the other. Then it's so cruel and it can lead to such cruelty. But when you say one and the other, we can both exist. Then there's joy and beauty in that. And I think about all my friends, all the places I've gone, all the ways that I have been accepted into spaces where I was different. And I've been welcomed with open arms, not just, welcome, we're glad you're here, but it's been like a party. People have been so happy that I was present there. My presence mattered. I was welcome. And that experience felt so good. And I learned so much. And I learned that people of all different nationalities, colors, beliefs, they're beautiful. One of the absolute greatest decisions I ever made was to show up at the Shifa Free Medical Clinic in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, and try to deliver groceries and food in the middle of a global pandemic when people were shut in their house. That one decision affected me so dramatically and affected me and made my life so rich for the next few years and will always affect my life. The Shifa Clinic is in partnership with ICNA Relief. That is an organization that is run by Muslims, people of a different religion than me. We have different beliefs. Yet those were some of the most beautiful people, peaceful, filled with love, wanting to serve. They had a medical clinic, they had a food pantry, and whatever they could do to help individuals, they did. Each person that was present there had so many acts that they did during one day that affected so many lives in such a positive way. I have never been in such a peaceful place, in such a place filled with peace and love, understanding, compassion, empathy. And when the leaders of the organization would come for meetings and for organizational things, it was all of them, all of the leaders from the bottom up were always so peaceful, so concerned, so loving, and so willing to help. And that's something that you don't hear about. It's those kinds of stories that you don't hear. But those are stories that I experienced firsthand every day for 4 years, 4 of the best years of my life. I formed friendships and strong relationships that I'll always treasure and cherish. And that's just one experience, but it was so enlightening and I learned so much because I was open and I was willing to learn. And I was willing to try to understand the beauty and the culture of another people group. That we may not worship the same way. We may not have the same theological views, but we have so much more in common than just that. We're human beings. we're so similar. And that relationship and that experience was so beautiful and is so beautiful, and I will always hold that in my heart. It's another thing, an example of the beauty of and. You could have one religion and the other exist in the same place, in the same space, in the same time. And it was beautiful. And I just want to leave you with that. I'm going to try to periodically throughout this month just share some of my experiences with other cultures and other people groups that may be different than me, because we're all different. We all are unique. But there's far more things that are similar between us. And I want to show you that the beauty and the joy of the and. I want to show you how beautiful it is for you to ask, for you to learn, and for you to hear stories, for you to share experiences. So I'll do that through my Substack, my social media. But I want to thank you for listening to this, and I want to thank you so much for being open to listening to this. And I want to just ask, just start conversation. Just start discussion. Just ask. Ask your friends. Ask people that you can trust. So many people want to share their story. They're just afraid to, or they think you don't want to know. But let's learn together. Let's exist together as human beings and as people that just want to live, just want to exist as who we are. So I want to thank you, and just remember that you do not have to struggle alone.